Hello and welcome to Addis News Hour. With the news, I'm Shifarao Lako, and do stay with us. The long-time armed group in Somali region of Ethiopia, Ogaden National Liberation Front, that's ONLF, congratulates Mustafa Mohammed for his election as the president of the state, laying arms to peaceful political struggle after the 2018 reforms in Ethiopia. ONLF now has expressed solidarity to work with the new Somali regional state government. ONLF has thus reaffirmed its commitment to effectively contribute share in developing the region. The Ethiopian community in Manchester and its environs held a fundraising event in aid of displaced people in Ethiopia, following the atrocious attack on innocent civilians in different parts of the country. Speaking on the occasion, Ethiopian ambassador to the UK, Tafari Malesa, has briefed the community on the current situation and challenges facing Ethiopia. He has also taken the occasion to urge the diaspora to stand in unison against the TPLF cohort, which is bent on shattering Ethiopian unity. He also called upon the diaspora to rally behind the ongoing reforms and support Ethiopia's development efforts. The participants of the event, on their part, expressed their solidarity to Ethiopia's reform processes and vowed to strengthen the network established to help the displaced, along with the government of Ethiopia. In another story, Ethiopians living in the diaspora hail mega projects under construction in Ethiopia as a sign of future robust growth and prosperity. Members of the Ethiopian Diaspora Task Force have visited various mega projects under construction in Addis Ababa. Kasaun Chane has more.
Members of the Ethiopian diaspora who happen to be in Addis paid a visit to mega projects, including a jaw-dropping beautifying sugar project. Mesmerized by what they saw in the motherland, the diaspora community expressed hope that the country will unleash its full potential to realize growth and prosperity. Apart from supporting a country's development, the diaspora vowed to be ambassadors of their country wherever they go.
These are Ethiopians gathered from more than 20 countries across the world. They are ambassadors of their country. Wherever they go, they are supposed to let the world know the true image of their country.
Commanding government's effort to change the image of the capital, Addis, through such amazing projects, members of the diaspora expressed commitment to play their part in their country's development and development.
What we've seen today is incredible. We are told that these amazing projects are built by own capacity. The technology they use in the development is remarkable. This country really has a future. I am overwhelmed by what has been done in this country over the past 3 years. Completing such huge projects amidst war and COVID-19 is a success. I hope it will join Korea and Malaysia in the coming few years.
They also called on Ethiopians living in different countries to visit the homeland and support development. Members of the Ethiopian Diaspora Task Force have been visiting various parts of Ethiopia since September and have previously visited the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam.
ጎሬ ብሎ የተሰየመበት ምክንያት በዚህ በኩል ጎሬ አሁን አስተዳደር ወደሚከደው ላይ ግቢ የሚባል ቦታ ላይ እዛ ላይ ጎራ ብሎ ጣዝማ አገኛሉ። ጣዝማ አግኝቶ ጎራ ብዬ ጣዝማ አገኘው ማለት ነው። በኦሮምኛ ግን ጎሬን ዳሙ አርገዴ ብሏል። ጎሬን ዳሙ አርገዴ ስል ጎሬ አሉት ይባላል። ሰርቦ አረዶ ይባላል። ይሄንን መጀመሪያ እንደዚህ ብሎ ያስወጣ ይባላል።
ኢትዮጵያ ላይ ከተማ የሚለው ቃል ራሱ ሲጀመር ከተመሰረቱት 6 ከተሞች ውስጥ አንዷ የጎሬ ከተማ
Welcome back. You're still watching Addis News Hour. Analysts say the Biden administration's State Department team is working to escalate the political and economic warfare against Ethiopia. The team is believed to be using the same playbook against Ethiopia as they did in Serbia in the 1990s, and the main motive being rob Ethiopia of its dominance in the lower Red Sea trade routes. But a stable ally, Ethiopia was and still should be a much preferred choice for the West's interests in the Horn, considering the positive role the country has been playing in pacifying the region, forging fruitful alliances. Demis Makrel has reviewed sources and has compiled the following story.
Great powers can cooperate to create stability or allow deepening rifts to tear it apart. Red Sea rivalries, a conflict of interests.
Available data show that more than 1/10 of global trade passes through the southern entrance to the Red Sea. This strategic route is also an important corridor for world navies, which they rely on safe passage to reach the warm waters of the Indian Ocean. Cognizant of such facts, many countries, including the United States, have established a military presence in the Red Sea and invested more assets to the corridor. Analysts say the U.S. regime has been engaging in disturbing countries, particularly disobedient regimes around the Red Sea, to maintain its dominance in the region without any viable competitors. In so doing, U.S. government made some of its victims, a good example being Yemen, which quickly turned into one of the world's largest humanitarian tragedies today.
What we are doing in the Middle East right now is contributing to instability. We are not using our diplomatic or even our non-diplomatic means in order to be able to bring about a new stable order in the region. Instead, we have taken sides, and we have very much decided that the Saudi and the Israeli and the UAE line is correct.
Foreign affairs analyst Grigory Kople argues that Biden administration waged hybrid warfare operations by mid-October 2021 against Ethiopia, hoping to stop its dominating plans in the critical lower Red Sea trade routes. Analysts argue Abiy's reformist posture enabled him to do away with the old authoritarian governing style of Ethiopia's ruling party in the first phase of his leadership.
The protests incited political jostling within the ruling coalition, and you saw a rebalancing power within the ruling coalition and the emergence of a new prime minister by the name of Abiy Ahmed. And Abiy Ahmed has taken on a reformist posture, and he's tried to do away with the old sort of authoritarian governing style of Ethiopia's ruling party.
He was able to open up new chapters for a greater Ethiopia until the U.S. understood his disobedience to be reigned under their will. But bent on dislodging Ethiopia from this position, Biden never hesitated to support Egypt, which entertains a long-standing rivalry with Ethiopia, on top of its support to the TPLF that attacked the northern base of the National Army. The US move was to help the TPLF and the equally violent genocidal Oromo Liberation Front Sheni to help break up Ethiopia. As a result, the Ethiopian government, which had seen Washington as its preferred partner, was forced to reopen talks with China, Russia, and Turkey. China and Russia have been able to prove that they have real leverage in the region by resisting US attempts to have the United Nations Security Council authorize military intervention against Ethiopia. Beijing and Moscow have gained considerable gratitude in Addis Ababa by using their veto powers in the Security Council to delay or block US plans. After observing all those ramifications, analysts who closely follow the Ethiopian affairs appears to agree on some points. But considering the positive role Ethiopia has been playing in keeping the Horn stable, thanks to its peacekeeping missions, a stable economy, and its latest mission of forging a strategic alliance with Horn countries, Ethiopia should still be a much preferred choice, many agree. By overlooking these glaring factors, the Biden administration is pinning hopes on a terrorist TPLF now in a state of desperation. Having been ousted by popular uprising after high-handed domination for close to 3 decades, the TPLF is still toying with a daydream of return to federal power. Given the US's falling out with the group beginning mid-2017, supporting it would be unwise and a Pandora's box, analysts conclude. They further conclude that the US escalation of political and economic warfare against Ethiopia may not be habitable as long as the Biden administration's present State Department team is in place. The State Department sources admit privately that they are using the same playbook against Ethiopia as they used during the US Clinton administration against Serbia in the 1990s. But they all forget one thing in common: the dynamism of time, which at that time put US as a strategically far stronger country as compared to China, Russia, and Turkey, who were far weaker during the time.
Now, in business, the U.S. government has designed African Growth Opportunity Act, that's AGOA, aiming to stimulate low-income African countries to export products duty-free to the U.S. market. At the beginning of 2000, AGOA invites some 34 developing countries in Africa, including Ethiopia. The relation between Ethiopia and the U.S. begins to sour. The latter is threatening the East African nation to eliminate it from AGOA initiative due to the Tigray crisis. Low-income Ethiopians who have been approached by ETV say Ethiopia's removal from AGOA will bring negative socio-economic impacts. Take a look.
Ethiopia has been one of the major beneficiaries of AGOA, which has led to the growth and development of many manufacturing industries, particularly in the textile, apparel, and leather.
ላንቱ ለገሞ ባላለው 4 አመት ሆኖብኛል 4 ልጆች አሉኝ ይሄ ፋብሪካ የሚጠፋ ከሆነ እኔ የሚኖርበት ተይና ልጆቼን የሚያስቀምጥበት ቦታ አይታየኝም ለኔ እንዴት ሆናለሁ ይሄው 4 አመት ሙሉ እዚህ እየሰራው ነኝ በሱ ያስተዳደርኩ ነኝ እንዳይዘጉ አንዴ ለምናለሁ ስሜት ዋበሻ ባባላለው ኢንዱስትሪያል ፓርክ ስራ መስራት ከጀመርኩ 4 አመት ከ6 ወር ሆኖኛል ስራ ሲከፈት ይሄን ስራ አግኝቼ በስራ ጀመርኩ ሁለት ልጆች አሉ ጠዋት ተነስቼ በጠዋቱ ቁርስ እሰራለሁ ልጄን ቀስቅሼ አጣጥቤ ወደ እናቴ ቤት ይዤ መጣሁ የቤት ክራዩም የወተት ክራዩም ሁሉ ነገሩን እኔ ነኝ የምሸፍነው እኔማ በተለይ ከተዘጋማ እኔ ቀኑ ነው የሚጨልምብኝ ቀኑ ይጨልምብኛል እኔ በተለይ ቀኑ ይጨልምብኛል
ወጣቱ ከሌላ አገር እንኳን የመጣ እየሰራ እየተጠቀመ እየተማረ ነው ያለው ዛኛ እንደው ከወንዶች ሴቶች ናቸው አሁን የተከበሩና ጥቅም ያገኙ ያሉት ትርፍ ሰዓታቸው እየተማሩ እያደጉ ነው
እኔ እንጃ እኔ መናገር ቃላት ያጥሩኛል ከተዘጋ ከኔ ጋር የሚሰሩ አሉ አካል ጉዳተኞች አሉ ይሄ ሁሉ በዚሁ የሚተዳደረው እና ባካቸው አትዝጉ ብዙ ችግርተኞች ብዙ የተጎዱ ጉዳተኞች አሉ ስለዚህ ባካቸው አትዝጉ ከዘጋችሁ ምን ተዳደርበት ቦታ የለንም ምን ተዳደርበት ስራ የለንም እና ባካቸው አትዝጉ
Creating employment opportunities remains a challenge for countries like Ethiopia, where the youth constitutes 70% of the population. A senior economist who talked to ETV English attributes most of the problems to lack of coordination between universities and the labor industry to produce skilled professionals. Sintayo Tamrat reports.
The youth in Ethiopia constitute 70% of the entire population, which currently hits more than 110 million. The rapid population growth makes it difficult for the nation to meet employment demands. High unemployment rate, especially for the youth, hinders the East African nation from growing even more. Although universities graduate over 100,000 professionals each year, only a few thousands get employments. In fact, one reason for this is the mismatch between universities' programs and the labor market. The nation's higher institutions therefore need to shift their old trends, a senior economist advises.
Universities should normally, produce professionals that are demanded by the industry. That is the most important thing. So we need to produce professionals that are productive, that are competent enough, and also that can contribute a lot to the nation's economy. So I think they have to focus on this.
Collective efforts of the government and the private sector is said to be vital to address the high unemployment rate in the country.
In order to provide them a job, I think this needs a collective effort, both from the private sector and also from the government side. So the government and the private sector should work hand in hand in order to reduce unemployment rate, which is large in number at this time in point.
On top of this, universities should produce graduates with a very good entrepreneurial skills that enables them to create jobs by themselves.
We should not produce graduates to create employment for them. I think the graduates that we are producing should create a job by themselves. They must have all the required skills, knowledge and attitude that would help them, competent enough in a global labor market. So I think these are some of the issues that our universities should focus on in order to transform Ethiopia.
Mogas also criticizes the government institutions for insufficient use of time, which is negatively affecting the economy. Consequently, the government needs to enhance the productive capabilities of various institutions so that they can contribute to the economic growth aspirations of the new government.
For instance, we are not efficiently utilizing our time for productive purposes. So I think we need to improve the use of our time. We are not guided by plan, and even our leaders, some of our leaders are not well aware of their sectoral plans, and they are not well aware of their employees and their employees' capacities as well. So I think we as a government should focus on enhancing the productive capacity of the human resources that the government is having currently.
Welcome back. International Land Coalition Africa stresses the centrality of partnerships in protecting land rights and user